Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at something we all do, evenings.
Yeah, that part of the day.
Exactly. And this isn't just, basic words. We really want to help you describe your evenings in English so it sounds, well, natural.
Yeah.
Like how people actually talk.
Whether you're just starting out or you're more advanced and just want to sound a bit more native, maybe.
Right. We're going to cover quite a bit: routines, useful phrases, how to start conversations about it.
Even different types of evenings, like quiet ones, busy ones.
Yeah. Think of it as getting some really practical tools for just chatting about your downtime.
Definitely. Evenings are such a big part of everyone's day, right? So being able to talk about how you spend that time.
And ask other people.
Exactly. It's key for, just connecting with people day to day. And the stuff we've looked at today really helps with the language for that.
Okay, cool. Let's dive in then. First up, when someone says evening in English, what time are we actually talking about?
Good question. Generally, people mean like from about 6 p.m. onwards, maybe until 9 or 10 p.m.
Okay.
It's usually that bit after work or school finishes, but, before you actually head off to bed.
Right, that kind of transition time when you start to maybe relax a bit.
Precisely. It's often about shifting gears.
Makes sense. So thinking about that window, like 6 to 10, here's one for you listening. What do you usually do then in the evening? Just, have a quick think. It's a good starting point for considering the kind of language we're going to get into.
Definitely. So with that time frame in mind, what does a typical evening actually look like for someone? Can we paint a picture?
Yeah, let's try. Like a standard weekday evening.
Okay. So maybe someone gets home from work. First thought is often dinner, right?
Yep, food.
So that could be, I don't know, making something quick if you've got the energy.
Or, let's be honest, ordering in if it's been a long day.
Oh, absolutely. Happens all the time. Then what?
Maybe a short walk, just to get outside for a bit, stretch the legs.
Yeah, that's nice. Get some air. Then maybe, like, a warm shower. That can feel like properly ending the workday, can it?
Totally. Signals downtime.
And after that, maybe some quiet time, reading, or just watching something chill on, say, YouTube.
Yeah, something light. And lots of people try to, put their phones away before bed, like last half hour or so.
Right. To kind of wind down properly, avoid that blue light, that sort of routine. It feels pretty common, doesn't it?
It really does. Parts of that definitely ring true for me.
Yeah.
So how does that compare for you listening? Does any of that sound like your evening?
Good question to ponder. Okay, so we've got a general picture. Now let's get into some really useful words and phrases. The practical stuff.
Yes. The bits you can actually use when you're talking about your evening.
Exactly. These are like the building blocks for sounding natural. So take a phrase like, I usually wind down around 7 p.m.
Wind down.
Yeah.
I like that one.
It really captures that idea of gradually relaxing, de-stressing after being busy all day.
Or you might hear someone say, I start to chill out after dinner. Chill out is another good one. Super common.
Very informal, yeah. And here are a few more that pop up a lot.
Like?
After dinner, I like to relax on the sofa. Simple, direct.
Can't go wrong with that. Or I sometimes binge watch a series on Netflix.
Guilty. I think a lot of us do that sometimes.
Definitely.
And what's interesting is how these phrases can kind of hint at people's habits or priorities. Like, I try to disconnect from work in the evenings.
Yeah, that tells you something. Setting boundaries.
Exactly. Or, I read a book to help me switch off. Shows their way of relaxing.
Switch off. That's another great phrase, like wind down.
You could also say, reading helps me mentally switch off from the day. Just gives it a bit more emphasis.
And then there's the classic, maybe slightly sheepish one. I often stay up too late scrolling on my phone.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. Way too relatable.
So to really hammer these home, let's repeat a couple of key ones, maybe slightly different versions.
Good idea. Like, I usually wind down around 8 o'clock. See? You just changed the time to fit you.
Simple. And how about, I like to have a light dinner in the evening.
Yeah, adding light tells you more, doesn't it? Not too heavy before trying to sleep.
Good point. And maybe one more. A really good summary phrase.
How about, evenings are my time to relax and recharge.
Ooh, I like that. Recharge.
Yeah.
Really captures that feeling of needing to rest up for the next day.
Exactly. And the more you notice these phrases, when you're listening to English.
The easier it becomes to use them yourself.
Precisely. So, okay, now you've got some useful bits for talking about your evening, but what about asking someone else about theirs?
Right. Got to have those conversation starters. Makes things less awkward.
Totally. So a really good open way to start is just asking, what's your evening routine like?
Nice and simple. Doesn't put pressure on them.
Exactly. Or if you're curious about, say, food habits, do you usually cook dinner or order food in the evenings?
Very relatable question these days.
And to find out how they relax, what do you typically do to relax in the evenings?
Perfect. Or maybe get a sense of whether they're a homebody or not.
Yeah, you could ask, do you generally prefer quiet evenings at home or going out and doing something?
These are great because they invite more than just a yes or no, don't they?
That's the idea. They get the other person talking a bit more. Like, there was this little example dialogue we saw, something like, hey, when you have free time in the evening, do you usually try to relax or do you tend to stay pretty active?
Okay.
And the reply was, oh, I definitely try to relax. I usually end up watching some TV or maybe reading for a bit before I go to sleep.
Easy. Just flows from that simple question.
Exactly. Shows how just a couple of good questions can lead to a nice little exchange.
Definitely opens things up. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. Let's talk about storytelling,
Ah, okay.
like painting a picture of a specific kind of evening. We had an example of a cozy winter one, right?
Yes, that was lovely. Storytelling is such a good way to see language in action. So yeah, imagine it's like cold and snowy outside,
Brr.
and someone's describing making a nice hot chocolate, really steamy, putting on some soft music,
Nice vibe.
and then just sitting by the window watching the snow fall. That
Yeah.
feeling of, quiet and peace.
It sounds so cozy, doesn't it? Wrapped up in a blanket
Maybe with a cat or dog nearby.
and watching some comforting old movie. It really highlights that feeling of like warmth and safety when it's cold outside.
Exactly. And describing it like that helps you, the listener, really connect emotionally, but it also gets you thinking.
What would my perfect evening look like?
Yes, what would you be doing? Where? Just trying to describe that even in your head is brilliant practice, using those descriptive words.
That's a really good point. Because let's face it, evenings aren't always like that perfect cozy scene. They vary massively.
Oh, totally. Depends on the day, your mood, what you've got on.
So we need words for the other kinds of evenings too.
Absolutely, the whole spectrum. So someone might just say, I had a really quiet evening at home. Simple. Means they're probably just chilling by themselves.
Right. But then the opposite could be, we went out for dinner with friends and ended up staying out quite late.
Completely different vibe, communicated clearly.
Or those evenings where you just can't relax.
Yeah, I had to study all evening. There was absolutely no time to relax. You instantly know it was a busy, focused one.
Or, the slightly less productive ones. I pretty much spent the whole evening scrolling through social media.
Huh. Again, super common. We've all done it. No judgment.
None at all. And finally, pure exhaustion. I was so tired last night, I actually fell asleep on the sofa.
Oh, yeah, classic sign you needed rest. These are all just, normal, everyday ways people talk about their evenings.
And the key thing is to listen out for them, notice them.
Repeat them, maybe, and then try and actually use them when you're talking.
Definitely. All right, so we've covered a fair bit. Routines, questions, stories, different types. Now it's your turn, listener.
Yep, time for a little challenge to help you put this into practice.
We want you to try talking about your typical evening.
And to help you get started, we've got some sentence prompts, kind of like a framework.
Okay, so you could begin with, I usually get home from work, school, whatever around.
Good start. Then maybe the first thing I tend to do is...
Followed by, for dinner, I, either.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I usually.
And after dinner, after that I like to.
And just before sleep, before I go to bed, I generally...
Perfect. Try and talk for, say, 1 or 2 minutes.
You could record yourself, use your phone, listen back, see how it sounds.
Or jot it down. Writing it out helps sometimes. Or, even better, tell someone. A language partner, a friend.
Yeah, actually using it is key. This kind of regular practice, even just short bursts.
That's what builds fluency, makes it feel more automatic.
Exactly. Gets it out of your head and into real conversation.
So let's wrap up this deep dive into talking about evenings. We've looked at describing routines,
Asking questions about other people's evenings.
sharing little stories, using all that natural, everyday language.
And like we said, being able to chat about these normal parts of life, like your evening, it's just so useful for actual conversations in English.
Totally. Whether
Yeah.
you're, making small talk, getting to know someone, practicing, it comes up all the time.
It really does. So one last question for you listening to think about.
What do you usually do in the evening? Is there a specific routine you really look forward to?
Or maybe one particular thing that always helps you unwind.
Yeah, just mull that over. Maybe try and answer it in English in your head later.
Good idea. And on that note, we hope you have a really lovely
Enjoy your evening.